All right.
Good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please rise and join me for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council. The first item of business is approval of minutes, and I would point out that you should have received an amended set of minutes from the one you got in the package.
Move to approve the November 18th, 2021 Town Council meeting as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item of business is announcements. I'd like to invite you to consider attending the first annual Commons Stroll. If you don't know what a stroll is, perhaps you need to speak with someone my age or some, not that I know how to do it, but you need to find out what a stroll is. It's the substitute that we're going to implement for the fact that we can't do the tree spree in our normal fashion. The Common Stroll is Saturday between 2 and 5 o'clock, and it'll be ended with a lighting of the town Christmas tree at 5 p.m. here in the Commons. The street will be closed off, similar to the community dinner arrangement that we do.
I have an announcement. It's not really about the town of Little Compton, but most of you probably already know that our governor is giving $3,000 bonuses out to state employees if they get vaccinated, which I think the state employees should do it just because they should do it, because they are state employees. It's going to be at a cost of $41 million. And if they're going to give bonuses out, they should give bonuses out like we do for job performance. Okay, I think the rest of us, that are taxpayers, should look very hard on that. For the governor to spend $41 million for taxpayers' money to state employees, they should, just by right, get vaccinated. I got vaccinated, I've got my booster. I'm not getting $3,000. I don't want $3,000. It's the right thing to do. So I had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry that it doesn't deal with Little Compton.
Thank you. Any other announcements that need to be made? All right, old business. We have one item, and that's to receive a verbal report from the Flag Policy Working Group that was appointed on November 4th and take action as may be appropriate. I've asked Councilor Ariati Moore to summarize our position. It is he, I, and the solicitor and the administrator that were part of this process.
Yes, as a result of the public hearing at our last meeting, we voted as a council to move the proposed policy to a working group that involved those four folks that President Mushin just mentioned. I met with Council President Mushin and Town Administrator Texera earlier this week, and we discussed everything that had been brought up at the public hearing. And I think we've drafted an ordinance that takes all of that into account, but it won't be ready for presentation to the council until our next meeting, at which point we can decide how to move forward with it. If the council so chooses, we could move forward after our next meeting to a public hearing in January, but we will present that to the council at our next meeting in December.
Any questions? All right. I'd also like to note that we are pleased to have received a petition that was signed by a count of maybe 130 residents. Those residents stating they believe the flag of the United States should be the only flag raised and flown on the flagpoles, and when warranted, state, town, and POW MIA flag. Thank you for that, and that will be part of our consideration. Our first item of new business is to open discussion with participation from the public to discuss a proposed project to upgrade the town tennis court. I'm grateful to Councilor McHugh and especially to grant writer Marjorie O'Toole, who has helped us prepare this request, an application for submission. The submission timetable is short, and both of those folks, Councilor McHugh and Mrs. O'Toole, have done tremendous work to get us to where we are. Counselor.
Yeah, so, thank you. So, I'd just like to thank Marjorie for her hard work writing this grant. The last time she did this was in 2016, and we were successful in our $250,000 grant to redo the tennis court, the walking path, and a multi-purpose field. So I want to thank Tony Texera and what he did to get this grant going. As everyone probably knows, there's a challenging conditions down at the court down there, and it is in desperate need for a resurfacing and undercarriage for the playing surface and lighting. The rec committee voted on their long-range plan, and their number one priority was the tennis court. So having said that, I can go through the numbers if you'd like, Bob, unless you'd like to.
That's fine. Is there public interest in that discussion, or are there inputs that you have with respect to the decision to apply for the grant? Please, go ahead. Counselor, go right ahead with what you're suggesting.
Okay, so the exciting thing about this grant is it's an 80-20, it's an 80% match, 80% from the state and 20% from the town. So we're asking for a $153,000 grant, which is 80% of the $191,250 for the total project. The town's 20% match is $38,250. There is some in-kind and some donations. $8,450 is in kind, $4,400 is the donations, which would bring the town responsible for $25,400. I don't think I've ever seen a grant that was 80-20. Marjorie, I don't know if you have. So it's really a no-brainer to me with our challenging conditions down there in that swamp, that we can get some drainage down there, get some lighting, and a new surface to continue what we've been doing with recreation in this town for everyone to enjoy. So obviously, to me, I think it's a no-brainer that we go forward.
I'll make a motion to
I can make a motion.
go ahead, I'll second it.
I'd like to make a motion to submit a recreation development grant application to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management for $153,000 to improve the town's tennis courts with new drainage, new surface, and new lighting, and to agree to pay the 20% local cash and in-kind project match required by the grant, which will not exceed $38,250 if the grant is awarded.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded for the grant. Is there discussion? I'll simply add that I can't walk past the court in the early morning. Well, in the early morning now, it's a little darker, but there are tennis players there who take each opportunity that any of us pass by to suggest that we get on with this. And so I think it's been had broad public support. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I would also mention that we have already 3 letters of support, and certainly can take any other written support that you'd like to add to the process in order for us to strengthen the grant. Sure, yes.
I think we actually have 11 letters of support.
11 letters.
Which is remarkable. And it's one important point is that the finished courts will be lined for both tennis and pickleball. And pickleball, I understand, is extremely popular. We've got 2 courts right now, and it's going to double them to 4 courts. So we'll restart the path. We have 4 courts there? I don't want to.
We weren't smiling at you, Marjorie. It was the pickleball racket bouncing in the background.
What was the response? We'll get it to the public here in the live stream that you just made.
More letters would be great. We have
Okay.
11 right now, but if it goes into 20, that will be even more impressive.
So for those who have not yet had an opportunity to comment in writing, please feel free to write to us, and we'll include those in the package as well. Thank you. The next item is a letter from Newport Mental Health. It proposes that the town of Little Compton use some of its American Rescue Plan allocation to help fund a mental health care access center project, which would benefit the people of Little Compton. The town administrator has been in conversation with the folks and has suggested that the action that we might take is to ask him to ask them to come and propose to us where they're intending to use these monies. One of my concerns is what determines a Little Compton share. One would think it would be proportionally due to or in accordance with the use that we make of the mental health facility, and we certainly have had occasion to do that. But I'd like to be reasonably proportional across the county, which this mental health organization serves. So would there be a motion to task the administrator with inviting Nate?
What is his name?
Levin Aspenson to come and give us some detail.
I'll make that motion, but I would also like to say, I'd like to know where this new facility is going to be proposed, because it's going to be on the other side of the state. I'm not sure how much access Little Compton people are going to have to it.
I'll second the motion, but as long as this, I just don't want this to be something we go forward with, and then the funds can't be used for that for some
Right.
non-conforming
That's part
reason.
of what the administrator has been working with, is the state appointed guide that his task is to answer those specific questions. So we'll make sure of that as well.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item of business is to fill a vacancy on the Board of Canvassers. I'd like to move to appoint the alternate Democratic member, that's Alpin Chisholm, to full membership. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Secondly, I'd like to nominate Miriam Clifford, whose name was submitted by Democratic Party Town Committee Chair, to serve as the alternate member.
I'll second it.
Motion seconded by Councilor McHugh. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you both for your service to the town in that important capacity. Next item is to vote to award the Director of Public Works and the Town Administrator to receive and award bids for fall roadside mowing based on bids to be received by December 10th. Let me say that there's been some conversation before this meeting concerning this recommendation. I'd ask the administrator to summarize that for us.
Can I speak on this?
Sure.
Is that right? When I saw this on the agenda, we generally do roadside mowing the 1st of October, in that time frame when the grass and the brush is kind of tall. And it kind of struck me that we're going to do roadside mowing on bids. They're going to be come in on December 10th, which probably the mowing won't be done till around Christmas. And this isn't the time to do mowing. I spoke to Bob about it. I called up the Department of Public Works Director, Bill Moore, this evening, spoke with him about it, and he said there are certain areas that there is quite a bit of brush that does need to be cut. So I'm going to make a motion that will get that done. The normal rate for roadside mowing is generally $8,000 to $9,000. I don't think it's appropriate to spend that kind of money on roadside mowing at this time of the year. I think we should save that in case we have a big snow season, or else we can start roadside mowing a little bit earlier than we generally do in the spring. So I'm going to make a motion to allow $4,000 for roadside mowing of certain areas at the discretion of the DPW director.
I'll second it.
So the motion is made and seconded to use $4,000 of Public Works funds for that purpose.
Roadside mowing.
In a bidding
On a
process?
T&M basis for spots.
I think what the DPW director said, he said it'd probably be on an hourly basis. But I told him that he had $4,000 to work with, so make sure he gets the areas that he wants done first.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm sorry, is there, the $9,000, is it in the packet? Is it in here?
No.
Where'd that number come from, $9,000?
That's what it normally is.
That's what it normally is?
Yeah, $8,000 to $9,000 for roadside mowing. We do it twice a year.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's said.
Nope.
Is that sufficient?
Yes, it will be. Normally, it goes 8,500 to 9,000. That's correct. That's the number that's been used in the past. And as it was already pointed out by Councilor Mararonis, and I spoke with Bill as well just a little while ago, and he concurs with that. There's certain areas in town of concern, even though the season has passed somewhat, but there's some areas that need to be touched up immediately and not wait until the spring. But the $4,000 certainly will do on the hourly basis.
Thank you. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item of business is a request from the town administrator to pursue a hiring process for the position of fiscal clerk, including authorization to hire upon conclusion of interviews. He and I have discussed this and would like to modify that proposal to give the council the opportunity, as we do with other town employees of similar status, the council the opportunity to interview the either one or two recommended persons from the process as it unfolds. Does that accurately reflect?
That is very correct. We still will pursue with the whole process as it is stated here. However, we would have two recommendations to come to the council for that evening, for your interview, and then obviously final decision.
I would prefer two candidates come forth like we do with the police and the fire personnel. Thank you.
And just for the record, this is to fulfill a vacancy. This isn't a new hire of a
No,
new position.
right. As a matter of fact, it's on a rather fast track because the vacancy occurs on the 31st of this month. And this interview and hiring, we would anticipate would occur 14 days from today. So we don't have very much time, and this would enable us to have the opportunity to review the candidate or the two candidates, depending on what we receive from the recommendation. All right, are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Are we still in, I'm sorry, we were in discussion right there? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I apologize. What's the fiscal clerk do? I don't know.
Fiscal clerk is the number 2 person in the finance office.
Oh,
The fiscal clerk
Okay.
does a range of duties, payroll clerk, et cetera, et cetera.
I need to know who made the motion second, because you just discussed.
Gary made it, I seconded.
Okay, because I didn't catch that.
Good.
Just that's what I thought. I thought I seconded.
You did.
I don't know.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item of business is communication and email from Amy Simmons. And is Amy here this evening? She is not. Expressing concerns over the increased air traffic over Little Compton, wondering how she might work to see regulations change to reduce the air traffic, realizing it's governed by FAA regulations.
Just, again, not familiar with FAA regulations or I'm not a pilot or deal with the airlines at all. I want to put that out there in front, but what I do notice from on the farm when I go out and do chores, when the weather patterns change, the flight patterns to the airport, to Warwick Airport in Logan, you notice the planes in different spots. And lately they've been, when they shift that, it shifts the small planes further away from them. So the little single engine jobs now aren't flying over the river so much, they're flying right over town. When that flight pattern changes to the airport, when they switch it onto a different runway, they go further somewhere else. So she's correct, it has increased, but I think it's just because the approaches to the airports have shifted because of seasonal weather. So that's like, I don't know, it's like semi-trucks coming down a road and you got a bunch of little cars, they push the little cars off to one side. That's the small planes we see flying over us all the time. And they're there, I see them every night.
I think it's most of you may recall that there was somebody put forward this question before, and the chief was here at that meeting and explained he had no control over that. It was just the FAA that had control over it. So,
As Amy acknowledged in her letter, I have the same sense, is that it's not something that we can take a municipal stand on that gives it any further strength than an individual asking the question.
If it was a specific event and a specific plane doing the same thing over and over again, then you can lodge a complaint with the FAA and say, hey, this guy's
you'd be a nuisance.
buzzing, he's being a nuisance, but this is random planes flying by.
Okay. What is your pleasure with this item?
Motion placed on file.
I'll have to agree with that in a second.
Motion's made and seconded to place the matter on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The next item is announcement of grant funding available to start a community garden. There's an opportunity here from the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District, which happens to be one of the organizations that we support with a contribution each year. That organization has 3 grants available to do this. And I will confess that I have been approached by a couple who I can't recall their names, perhaps someone can help me, that are interested in a community garden in town. They are the folks who helped us with the plantings alongside the western edge of the Peckham Lot. I'm struggling. All right, I will take for action discovering who it is that I know there's someone who has proposed this, has an interest in it, and would be glad to lead the charge, which is going to be what we need. I will find that person by some method or another, and then I will ask them if they would be willing to help us characterize what we'd like to do. Because their thought was that we could use Ag Trust land for this purpose, and to have a community garden kind of effort, and as long as there's a water supply somewhat nearby.
I'll second that motion.
What was my motion? Oh,
Carol, I'm sure Carol had it down.
Motion is to task Mushin to remember who it was and get on it, and that motion's been seconded. Is there further discussion?
You can look in the minutes or look on TV to see what you said.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. Any further? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. The next item is a public notice from DEM of proposed rulemaking. The specifics of this rulemaking is to change the date of implementation by 6 months. The item was to go into effect in January. It's now intended to go into effect in July. I believe we have participated and continue to participate from planning, conservation, and other players in town in this process, along with Carol Trocchi of the Ag Trust. I don't believe there's anything that we need to do with this other than to say that the goal is a little further out.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to place on file. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The consent calendar.
Motion to place the consent calendar on file unless anybody would like to pull something for discussion.
I'd like to pull one thing.
Go ahead.
Quickly, the letter from John Anderson on behalf of the school committee. I don't know if this is the second time we've received this. I know he showed up and spoke. I know the chairman of the school committee has. I'd ask the solicitor when the council would have an update on this matter. The solicitor.
The last time I spoke on this was maybe several meetings ago. I did speak with Mr. Anderson several times. I think we spoke somewhere around November 4th. I think there was a council meeting roughly November 11th. And I'm aware of the contents of the letter.
Are you going to update this council?
Well, there's a committee working on it right now.
Okay. When was that committee going to report back to the full council on what they have?
That was what,
The flag policy.
that's what we voted on earlier.
The flag policy.
So that you guys have liquidated that discussion about how to handle the issue with the school? Not the flag policy, but the school wanting to raise their own flag. This is what the law is.
Right, the policy that you will see is simplified greatly from what we had before. And when we bring it to you next week, 2 weeks from now, you'll be able to see it for what it is. I believe the answer to your question will be it does satisfy your concern. But
I guess specifically, I'm asking is, the letter says, under Rhode Island General Law 16.2, 9, 5, and 8. I'm not clear on what our response is as a council to that question.
I would say we're not obligated to respond to a question that's characterized as an opinion. I have been authorized to write this opinion letter to address concerns raised.
So-
I don't take this as a tasking of the council what is your response?
Okay.
Do you?
No, that's okay. I was just wondering if we're gonna have any more from the solicitor on what his opinion was on this.
He's involved in the process of our bringing forward in 2 weeks the proposal that we're gonna put on the table. I think you will find that it acknowledges this input.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to place the consent calendar on file?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
And the payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Did we, oh, I'm sorry.
Did you have to?
So, all set, thank you.
There being no further business before us, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.